And you're listening to a Token Nerd Network podcast. 3, 2, 1.
Wonder Woman. All the world is waiting for you. And the power you possess. In your sandal tights, fighting for your rights. And the
This is why we're behind. This is why we're behind doing this.
Wonder Woman.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Token Nerd Podcast, where we ramble on about geeky things ranging from Batman to pop figures to Star Wars. I'm Anthony Pettiford.
And I'm Addison Lee.
Hey folks, we're here for the review of DC's recent movie, Wonder Woman. It came out on... we went to see it on Thursday. It came out on Friday, June 2nd. The movie stars Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, as the, not star-crossed lovers, but as the warrior princess who comes to save man from the war to end all wars. WW1. Anyway, so, this movie has had a lot of pressure on it. Not only is it the most recent movie or the most recent edition of the DC cinematic universe, but it's also the first female-led superhero movie of
In the past decade.
Yeah, I mean we're not gonna count like Catwoman
Since those movies were out, it's the first
still
female-led superhero in a decade or something like that.
okay, yeah, right. Anyway, so I remember when Gal Gadot was first cast as Wonder Woman. And she got a ton of hate because she was too skinny. She was
not busty
enough. And then Dawn of Justice came up where you saw the first image of her, and people were into it, but not sold.
Everyone was complaining that she looked like Xena, warrior princess, because two Greek characters can't look the same.
Alike. And then in Dawn of Justice, when we first saw her in action, and people loved her. People thought she was great. She had the theme, the da-na-na-na-na-na-na. Yeah, so people really kind of fell for this character, and then it was announced that she was going to have her solo film, and people weren't sure what was going to happen. We heard rumor that it was going to be a movie, period piece, that it was going to be based during one of the world wars. We all assumed that it was going to be World War II, in the same vein as Captain America: First Avenger. But it wasn't. It's set in World War One, also known as the worst war that America was involved in, aside from the Civil War. So anyway, this movie had a lot going for it. People were kind of afraid. There was a viewing 2 weeks before the movie came out. People saw it. People kind of, since there was an embargo on it, no one could really say anything except for, oh, I liked it. But there was a lot of positive feedback. And then the embargo lifted, and okay, sorry, my puppy is in this room with us, and she just made herself comfortable on four of Addison's pillows. Anyway, so this movie came out, and it blew people away. They said the message was strong. They said the acting was strong. Message plot, all of it was just great.
The directing was strong. The writing was strong.
Because the director is Patty Jenkins. That's someone from Yellow Springs. Thank you, Patty Jenkins. And so it was the first female directed movie.
Yeah, I think it might be the highest budget female directors ever directed.
Wow. So as of right now, because today is, what is today? The 4th, 5th?
The 6th.
Wow, today is June 6th. So where are we sitting in the box office? If you can look that up for me real quick. Wow, as of June 4th, Wonder Woman domestically is at $103 million plus dollars. That's freaking crazy. Production budget of $149 million. So they'll easily break it once it goes overseas, right?
Yeah. Well, it's right now I'm not sure where it's.
And that's from 2 days ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure where else it's been showing, but so far it's over 125 million overseas.
And it's not gonna air or not gonna be viewed in Yemen,
Lebanon.
Lebanon. I think is it just Lebanon?
I'm not sure.
That's one of the things that we probably should look at before. But because Gal Gadot is Israeli and she served in the Israeli army, there are nations who have had issue with her being in a lead movie, and so she has been blacklisted, blackballed. The movie has been blackballed from some theaters, but that's not going to hurt the movie at all. I'm sorry.
Nope.
So anyway, movie's great. Gal Gadot's great. They cast Chris Pine, who is from Star Trek, and what else is Chris Pine really known for? Star Trek and
mostly Star Trek.
Mostly Star Trek.
He does.
He's been other smaller or solo movies.
Yeah, but his real
franchise
has been Star Trek.
Okay. But anyway, so let's just talk about this movie. Or let's talk about our review of the movie. So, what were your thoughts overall of Wonder Woman?
Overall, I thought the movie was great. It, like you said, it had a powerful message. It was a very empowering movie for anyone who just wants to see peace in the world. And I thought, even though Gal Gadot is not the strongest actor by any means, I think everyone who was around her, from Chris Pine, Connie Nielsen, Robin Wright, even Danny Houston, like these very talented actors didn't overshadow Gal Gadot, the fact that she's a weaker actress, but instead they elevated her. So the scenes when you're watching her, like maybe a stronger actress might have delivered these lines better, but at the same time you didn't really notice because you really believed that she was Wonder Woman, like her the innocence that she kind of viewed the world through, like believing every story that she was told, kind of thing. So I think that was one way you really kind of felt connected to this character.
But and also I don't even know if I would assume they pushed this thought in it, but it's also she's the baby of the island. So even when we see her mid-movie and she's an adult, she's still a child compared to every other Amazon. She was the only child on that entire island.
Yeah.
So she grew up alone to, a warrior culture, and so she wanted to learn to fight, and she learned to fight. But like you said, she believed all these stories that she was told. She believed in good and evil, and the world was black and white. There was no gray. And so even when you see her later on in the movie, one of my favorite scenes is when she comes in and she goes with Steve Trevor to the embassy, the Allies embassy or whatever, and she's telling them, oh, it's Ares, because Ares is the god of war, and he was supposed to come and put the idea of war and chaos into man's souls and minds, and then causing war that he feeds on. And so her mission was she was going to go kill him and end all the war. And in her mind, if she killed Ares, then that's it. The war ends and peace comes to the world. And that mentality, while simplistic, is more than I feel like we got from Man of Steel and Batman v Superman. Because Batman v Superman, Man of Steel, we had two people who were just dark and tortured. Batman's tortured, Superman was tortured.
Yeah. She grew up on a place called Paradise Island. I don't think she's very tortured. Yeah, but even
the thought of I know other reviewers had said this. I think it was Double Toasted who made the point of saying, when you see Paradise Island, and it's like the German boats. That's so Steve Trevor crashes on Paradise Island, and he's being chased by Germans, and the Germans are in this foggy, dark world, and as they cross the barrier into Paradise Island, all of a sudden it's really bright and pretty, and it's like, here's the Snyderverse, and here's Paradise Island. So we left the doom and gloom.
You also got to think of it as, it's London, World War One. It wasn't, the sun wasn't, bright and shiny. It was smoggy.
I wasn't talking about the rest. I'm just saying. I get that London story. I've seen Sherlock.
And I'm just saying that not every movie, the first Avenger, wants to make war look bright and colorful. Sometimes I think the gloom of it. Yeah, they want to say, oh, it's Zack Snyder. The gloom added to the feel of this. The gloom added to the fact that on Paradise Island, yeah, it was a paradise. The sun was shining. There was barely. I'm sure it was barely night. It was like Alaska, where you had days of just sunlight. But then when you get into the real world, where there's war, the gloom added to the fact that like, oh yeah, we're not on Paradise Island anymore. We're in the real world, where yeah, the smog from all the ships, from all the battles, from all the war.
But they weren't in London. Paradise Island's not in London.
But they were like, he was leaving like Germany. The fact that
Wait,
this whole
that's
area,
not what I'm arguing.
the fact that this whole area was gloom to show the fact that yeah, this war was ugly, and I think that added to the fact that when Diana came, the big sparkly eyes like an anime character, she walked into this world saying like, this is what's wrong with it, and like I said, the darkness added to the element of this is war, this is disgusting,
No,
this is
and
dark.
I agree. I completely agree. I'm just saying it was symbolic of, like you said, beautiful Paradise Island, full of color. Even nighttime was gorgeous, but on the just outside was smoggy, dark, foggy, and doom and gloom. I get that. I appreciate it. And just to briefly talk about the eyes. So her eyes, so she was a fish out of water. Because ultimately, this played on several different notes, but one big one was a fish out of water.
Yeah.
And I think the interesting thing about that concept is normally I don't like that trope.
Yeah, that was the only scenes I kind of like I cringed at, not because of how they acted in the scenes. I just don't like fish out of water moments. Like even in Thor, I really liked the first Thor movie, but some of the fish out of water scenes, I was just kind of like, I don't like them at all.
But the reason I liked this more is because this fish out of water wasn't like Thor coming into our world where you're like, where he like smashes a glass and you're like, ha ha ha, we don't do that in our culture. But it's a culture different from ours. I mean, so the culture that she came into was already dated to us. So we also are looking at things as a fish out of water. Like when she wears the corset and she has the big fluffy dress with like 6 layers inside of it. To me, that seems silly because no one wears that anymore. And to her, that seems silly because no one wears that where she's from. So we're kind of also experiencing this crazy
Culture shock.
Yeah, crazy culture shock. And we also have it's not super in your face, but there's also the male, super masculinity. Women positions are secretaries and cooks and wives. Because we get to see, is it Lucy Davis? Is that Chris Pine's assistant?
Yeah.
Who was hilarious. All of her bits. Plus,
which I thought she was going to have a bigger role.
Yeah, so did I.
Scenes. She was kind of just there, like an actual secretary, and just disappeared when they were no longer needed.
Yeah, but I thought it was interesting that her role was when something bad happened. Like so there's a scene where Steve is being followed by spies. In the scene that we've seen in the trailer where they shoot guns at Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman, and she blocks them with her bracelets. At that moment, we realized that his secretary followed them because she was carrying Wonder Woman's sword. She followed them. Like, she was gonna, she wasn't just the doty secretary. She, knew what was up, and she could not hold her own, but she did some cool things. But this movie, I'm not sure how we should structure the rest of this review because I don't want to just go on these random...
Positives and negatives?
That's a good idea. So can you give me... Let's just do 5 positives each. And then, because I feel like I could just rant and ramble on about how much I like this movie. So just give me 3 good pros.
That was 5,
new ones.
But now it's 3.
Yeah, just do 3.
Supporting cast, like I said, really elevated Gal Gadot. Kind of, looking at what her, where her talent or her specialty was when it comes to acting, and luckily you had someone like Chris Pine, who's a generous actor, I would say. He's someone who doesn't overshine, but he really elevates who he's with. So I think that was a major positive. The other thing was the action scenes. The Patty Jenkins. Yeah, I completely switched it. Patty Jenkins knows how to shoot action, and she did a really good job of working with the stunt coordinators and the second unit directors and all the Amazons, because that's the scene I'm really talking about, is when the Germans first come to Paradise Island and they fight, the Amazons, like, tear up shop, and it's amazing. Like it's really well shot. Like I could do without less of the slow mo scenes in it.
We'll get to
But
negatives in a
yeah,
little bit.
but overall the action scenes were just really really well shot, and they should be very proud of what they came out with, because yeah, the Amazons just really did an amazing job, especially a lot of the sword fights and the arrow shootings. Like yeah, eat your heart out, arrow. And I think another positive was the humor. The humor in this was very natural. It didn't feel like a bit. It didn't feel like wait for it. Here's the
I
joke.
agree.
It
There were
felt-
no
it felt-
jokes.
It felt
the
natural.
situation was funny.
Yeah, it just felt really natural, and so it didn't feel like a comedy. It just felt like, hey, I feel okay laughing in this movie because this is just situational. It's situational humor, and I thought that was just really really well done.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I agree with everything you just said. The humor I thought was worked really well, so it brought the levity of this movie up. But I thought it was because we finally had one of my things is just the personality of Wonder Woman. She came here not for an ulterior motive. She came here because she was going to save the world. Like that was it.
That's a motive. But...
I know, and I'm just saying, like, she just can't. There was no, like, oh, I'm doing it because my parents were killed. I'm not doing it because I may or may not have called the aliens here because I opened a beacon on some crazy shit that was in the Arctic, and now they're here and they're killing people in the metropolis in Kansas, and I feel like I have to save everyone. We don't have any of those. No.
And yet,
no.
and yet, no matter what I do, everyone's still mad because the fact
Because
that
I killed thousands of people, because I destroyed a city.
Because the fact that there was a machine
because the city was destroyed. He's supposed to be a hero, you know? Let's talk about Wonder Woman.
Okay,
Let's
hold
talk
on.
about Wonder Woman for a second.
How was he? You saw how he fought the first one. How he barely beat that. He was supposed to just jump over to Metropolis and fight the other machine. No.
I'm sorry. So save them all. You're right. Stop one. Take a break. Relax.
When did he take a break?
If he didn't stop the second one,
When he stopped the first one,
he stopped the first one.
Yeah, but it's okay.
I'm just saying, when you're fighting Zod, the people Zod. But the people, in this one, Clark just goes, ha, the people, ha, the people, ha. That's Clark flying and mowing people down.
Right, yeah, because that's what happened in the movie.
Anyway, so Wonder Woman was... what a baby. So Wonder Woman was... It was just pure. It was joyful. It was
Patty Jenkins really wanted to feel she wanted to bring back the Richard Donner Superman. That's what she said was an inspiration.
Inspiration, yeah. But it was someone who understood the character. Mm-hmm. It was not a huge recreation of something. Like, it wasn't recreating the wheel like I feel like a lot of our superheroes are. And that crosses over to Marvel as well. But another thing I thought was really good was just the period, the time period. Hiccups. In compared to Captain America, which obviously is what's it called? Propaganda. I mean, even then he was war propaganda. It was kind of like the highlight of war. Like, if you're a good soldier, you get to do this. Whereas this was not that. This was not glorifying the soldiers. It was not glorifying the war or, whoever was trying to win or lose the war. It was, look how ugly this is.
Yeah.
Look at all the people who are dying. I think we announced it was a spoiler before. There's a point where they save a village. In the No Man's Land sequence, all of that whole thing was my favorite part of the movie which I didn't think I was going to like. I thought it looked cheesy when she deflects the bullets. In the trailer, we see where she's walking out the trenches, and then a bullet comes at her, and she deflects it with her band. To me, in the trailers, that looks really cheap. It looked
cheap to you?
Yeah. To me, I really knew that it was a green screen. No, I really did. No, like other scenes, I don't see it. Like in Paradise Island, I thought that they were actually, like, there are some shots that are obviously fake. Like when she jumps into the tower to get the lasso and all that.
That wasn't real?
I hate you so much. I hate you.
You see a lot of people dodging.
You know what? I'm so done. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the background, you jerk. Okay, so anyway, that whole bit I thought was great, and the scene where you see her accelerated, like you see her not so much like her speed, but because she's pushing off of one leg and she's like flinging herself forward. I love that. And I love the point where there's a scene where Steve is running underneath her with his version of the Howling Commandos, and you look above the roof and you just see her like leaping from roof to roof. Love those scenes, and they're just trying their best to keep up with her. And then she knees a sniper and blows up the entire top floor of a church. But I love that. But it was just a period piece of how awful this war was. There's a scene where she's walking onto a boat. I think it's a boat that she's getting on. They're crossing a bridge or something, and
they were they just got to the front lines and they were heading to the village where the trench was.
Yeah.
And as they were passing by, they see what happens with war.
Injured, and you see people who are being held together, people losing arms, legs.
It's too bad there wasn't a sun, just the sun just shining on them.
You know what? I understand.
I understand. So much better.
You know, it was a great scene because it showed how innocent she was, and her seeing this,
wanting to talk to almost like everyone as she walked by to see if they were okay.
Yeah, she wanted to make things better.
And Steve had to keep pushing.
He's like, "Come on, we have a job to do." He was mission oriented. Like he the way he saw it was, he would do bad things. It was like Rogue One.
Diego Luna. I was just about to say the same
where it
thing.
was like, he is part of the rebellion, but he killed someone in the very beginning.
He was going to do whatever it takes to end the war.
Yeah, and that's Steve Trevor versus Diana, who was like, I'll stop the war, but I'll save everyone in the process.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was nice and refreshing to see. So there was that. Like we said, the humor. They made the lasso of truth work. There's a big boss fight at the end where she's fighting someone with the lasso, where she's flinging it at him, and it was just really cool. I thought the way they incorporated it was awesome. Like, I wasn't sure if it was... I know the lasso made them tell the truth, but it was almost like he's like, it's getting hot. Like when Steve Trevor was like...
Well, it's kind of... I think the way they were doing it was that if you lie, it gets worse, or if you resist, it gets worse.
That's what I thought.
So you have to tell the truth, or the burning won't stop.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's how it's more like a torture method than, I'm being forced to say the truth. No, you're gonna burn to death if you don't tell us what we want to know.
But there was a scene where Diana, she wants to go to the front lines. That's her whole mission, and Steve says, "Oh, we'll get there eventually." And she's like, eventually she's like, "I really need to go to the front lines. I can find Ares and kill him and end all this." And she said, "You lied to me. You said you were going to take me there." And he says, "No." And he pulls her lasso and holds it in his hand and goes, "I'm going to take you to the front line to prove that he's telling the truth." But before he lets go, he goes, "And we're probably going to die."
This is a really stupid idea.
It's a really stupid idea, and we're going to die. And then I think my last favorite, I'm probably named 6 things, but the last thing I really liked was the death scene. The final death scene when Steve Trevor sacrifices himself.
Oh, I didn't know we were doing spoilers.
Okay, it was a spoiler, but
that is
the spoiler. Well, I didn't talk too much about Ares. Anyway,
I guess we're already there. We find out that Remus Lupin is Ares, and we thought he was his character name, Sir Peter, from the beginning. Which
I knew. Unfortunately, we live in a world where you're skeptical and you're expecting the biggest shock value. But anyway, so there's a scene when he dies, and it's Gal Gadot's reaction to it, where she cries, like she yells out and cries, and it wasn't like, and don't get all defensive, but it wasn't like when Superman snapped Zod's neck and he let out that weird yell afterwards. Like this one was like, I felt like she lost something. Okay, anyway, I can see your face because
it was different because that was someone she had feelings for.
I know. I'm just saying. Acting wise,
with the Man of Steel scene, he was forced to kill one of the last people of his race because this.
Well, he wasn't the last person of their race. There's several of them in the Phantom Zone. They're not dead. They're in the Phantom Zone. They're still there.
Well, okay. Anyone that's not in the
zip code. Okay, so it's like I have family in the state.
No,
versus
that makes
family.
No sense. The Phantom Zone got destroyed.
Oh, it didn't?
Yeah, that's how they were able to destroy the first thing, the first terraformer in Metropolis. Remember Guardian? What we thought was going to be Guardian because that was his code name. He crashed the ship, into the generator, like opening up the Phantom Zone or what? I don't know. It's been a while since I've seen the movie, but yeah, the Phantom Zone. I think the Phantom Zone like got destroyed or whatever.
The gate got destroyed, but the Phantom Zone is still there, and those people are still stuck. There are still Kryptonians that are stuck in the Phantom Zone. Okay. Anyway, I see this is going over your head. So let's just let's talk about the things that we didn't like about this movie. I think I speak for both of us when I say there was a lot of slow-mo.
Too much slow-mo. It's not that it was bad, and it didn't. It added more to the film. But I think what happens with slow-mo is that you realize that you're watching a movie when you hit the slow-mo. Because when the action scenes are going, it's like you're just in it and you're just enjoying it. But then that slow-mo kind of like stops you. Like you're in slow-mo too. You're like, oh yeah, I'm watching a movie again.
Mm-hmm. Which I thought it was effective in certain scenes. Like on the mascara when you see the bullet fly past Diana, and it hits the Amazon behind her. Like that was effective. I thought during certain fight scenes, like when she broke through the wall and slid on her shield to kick someone, that worked effectively. When you're slowing down to show an action, not just to slow down to make a point. So there was that. I also think I speak for both of us when I say that the villains
sucked.
Yeah, but that's something that a lot of
this is like that. And I'm not gonna say like Marvel does it better because Marvel does it. Marvel does it
also
almost
suffering.
just as worse. But these villains were just not good. Ares was fine. I liked Ares for the most part, but man, Dr. Poison and Lunderdorf
was a real person.
Yeah, I mean that's cool, but they were just.
I actually have a list of all the bad superhero villains. Zemo, Ronan the Accuser, Whiplash, Doomsday, Lex Luthor, Malekith, Parallax, and the Mandarin.
I like the Mandarin way more than Ultron. Ultron was garbage.
I didn't dislike Ultron.
I did.
I thought what they did. I thought they did a decent job with him.
What made Ultron terrifying in the comics was the fact that the only human emotion that he had was that the fact that he was in love with Hope Van Dyne. That was the only human emotion. Everything else was he was a cold robot that was going to kill.
Yeah.
This Ultron was quippy, and I know he was based off Tony Stark. So
I'm not trying to throw it in your face about it, but that's just what this version was.
And
I thought that they played well off of it, and he was I'm talking about being fleshed out. Versus in this movie we had, like you said, Dr. Poison and the evil German, and so we have a woman who's obsessed with poison, and we have an evil German, not a Nazi, but a German. They're Germans, not Nazis.
These two were so close to being
Natasha and Boris.
No, who they were in my mind was the Riddler and Two-Face from Batman Forever. That's how bad they were.
Because wait, what? Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
Dr. Poison and Ludendorff, the scene where they tested out their poison on these other German generals, and he threw a gas mask in there. She was like, "The gas mask won't work," and he's like, "I know, but they don't know." And they started laughing.
Mm-hmm.
That was like straight out of Batman Forever. Like it was so bad that I was like, if I see them on screen together again, I'm not gonna leave. But I will go to the bathroom when they're on the screen. It was really bad. Ares,
and even though Ares was cool because Ares looked like he was in the movie, and I thought his background was just like, oh, I'm not causing war, I'm just pushing them to it. Even for everything I thought he did right, was outweighed by how bad these two other. And I feel like you could have done a lot more with Dr. Poison. One, I think that you could have showed that she was poisoned, where she doesn't age. Like, she inhaled something where now she can't age, and she's just a constant annoyance to Diana. Like, she hates Wonder Woman now because Wonder Woman poisoned her and cursed her with eternal life.
No, I don't want to see these characters ever again.
I'm just saying we could have done more, or just not introduced them at all. So yeah, there was that.
Well, if you start with the bar low, then you just kind of you can't go.
It's all for Cheetah.
Yeah, it's
all for making Cheetah make sense.
I mean, then you get Cheetah, you can have Giganta, but I think the one thing that made this movie work, and where the comics kind of fail, is the fact that her main villain was not a woman. Because if you look at all these other female-led superhero movies back in the day with Supergirl, Elektra, Catwoman, all their villains were just other women. This was like the first time you saw like her main villain was Ares, which was a male. So you saw her going up against a male, not just like, hey, you know what, for this one, because it wouldn't make any sense that a woman could beat up a man, so your villain's gonna be, I don't know, it could be
the evil reflection of you.
Yeah, so it was the fact
throw
that
at you.
So I really liked the fact that they did that,
but I also enjoyed the fact that it was a god versus a god, because after a while you get kind of tired of aliens and robots, which we just mentioned, both Avengers movies, and Justice League is going to be them versus parademons, which I'm excited for, but at the same time it's us fighting insectoid aliens.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets dull, but this was not that. There wasn't the giant drones, and the people they did fight were just people who awkwardly hugged after Ares was destroyed.
I think it was more just like we just saw a dude that made armor from rubble and a woman with glowing bracelets just shoot lightning at each other.
Did they ever explain that? Like what she does when she clings her...
No.
They never explained that.
I know in the recent comics they said that Diana's bracelets weren't just for deflecting whatevers. They were
storing.
They were containing her godly power. Because in the New 52, she was the child of Zeus, which she is in this as well. But they said like her bracelets were holding in her power, so she's almost more unstoppable than usual.
Yeah.
But they never really went into that, which I didn't need that.
I think that's cool though that they didn't. So there is no weakness for Wonder Woman in this movie. They never mention it. But what we were afraid of is not her weakness.
But she can get cut.
She's not
like Superman where
but
she's invulnerable, but she can get cut.
But it wasn't that. It's the fact that I never feared for her. I feared for everyone around her. I feared for the villagers because I knew she was okay. Like, she wasn't going to get hurt by a bullet, but the people around her could. And I felt like that was a great dynamic where we're worried about her surroundings in hopes that she saves them.
Well, I think the one time you did feel a little bit of fear for her was when she was fighting Ludendorff in the tower, and he takes her sword. And you think, because like if one thing is going to kill Wonder Woman, it's going to be the sword. That's called God Killer. And I think it's anything. I think it's going to be anything that is godly made, something like that. So like any kind of weapon that was made in on Themyscira or from Olympus, from Hephaestus, would kill Wonder Woman, but nothing from man's world. So you felt more tension when he was using her sword against her, and when she fought Ares, because a god can kill a god. So.
And so that whole dynamic I thought was really cool. The sacrifice. So there's a scene when the Germans are pushing back, and Wonder Woman's not doing so well against Ares. And she's like looking around, and she's like devastated. Her ears are ringing because of an explosion, and so she doesn't know what's happening. And she looks over and she sees the DC Howling Commandos. So there's the Chief, there's Sammy, and then there's the Scotsman. I don't know their names. Oh,
Charlie.
I'm looking at them. Yeah, Charlie. Oh, he actually is called the Chief. Huh.
They just called him Chief.
Yeah. Samir, so Sammy, one of my favorite of the three. I thought he was funny. There's a scene where Wonder Woman like gets into a fight or like knocks someone out. And he goes, "I don't know if I should be frightened or aroused." Or I'm not sure which one I'm more of. But anyway, he was really funny. And so the three of them, there's a scene where they know they're not going to make it, and they like kind of hold on to each other for a second, like they're holding the line, and then they kind of just stop and look at each other, and they realize like this is it, we're at the end of the line, but we're going out together, and I really like that. I think it would have been really cool if Sammy, so what's his name? I can't even pronounce his name. His real name is like Said Tagamoli. Anyway, so the guy who plays Samir, I think it'd been cool if, I know he'd be dead by then, but if there was like reference that Diana had an assistant or someone who stayed with her through her time, and I feel like after all of that, like his character would have continued to stay with her, or the three of them would have followed her still. Like, so she wouldn't have aged, but they would have aged, and they always stayed by her side. But since that didn't happen, that also kind of leads into my final issue, and that is this didn't lead me to Justice League or Dawn of Justice. Because while we saw the worst parts of War and we saw that she was heartbroken over what she saw, at the end of the movie, there was no moment where she would have turned her back on man. Like, she would have decided, you know what, destroy yourselves, that's what you want. I didn't get the feeling from that.
Well, I don't think she was even that way in Dawn of Justice either. I think it was more of just like, I am now, I'm not turning my back, but I'm just not involving myself, because right now, there's no force that's driving this. This is just human nature. So, like, what drove her to World War One was the fact that it was Ares. Now that she realized, like, it's not just Ares, it's just people, there's not much I can do. And what brought her back, of course, when you had Doomsday, it's like, oh, that is a thing that I can actually physically stop, so...
Yeah. People have talked about how, okay, Wonder Woman, this movie will be World War One, the next movie should be World War Two, or Vietnam. I know, before you shake your head. But I need something where she fights demons. Like, something from the other world. So when she fights Doomsday and she says, I've killed things from other worlds before. I know she's now referencing Ares, but I think it would have been cooler if it was like a troll or some kind of monster that she then killed. But so overall, what would you give Wonder Woman out of 10 stars?
Out of 10,
after everything we've said,
I would give Wonder Woman a good solid 8. 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10?
Yes.
I'm actually on the boat where I'm dancing between 8.5 and a 9, so I think I'm going to give it a 9. I really enjoyed it, and I've loved a lot of other movies, but not since Captain America's Winter Soldier, if I've seen a movie twice, or more than once in theaters. And I'm probably going to go see Wonder Woman again, because I really enjoyed it. I thought the message was great. I thought what Gal Gadot did was great. No, I don't think this movie is going to save the DC Cinematic Universe. I think
it's just a good step forward.
It's a good step forward, but like all the movies are going to have to take the shift to what Wonder Woman did for it to be saved. So we have Addison saying that he gave it an 8. I gave it a 9. Those really high scores for DC movies. You can actually pay attention to our YouTube channel. We're going to be posting, eventually there will be a Wonder Woman Top 10, our top 10 moments of Wonder Woman from the Justice League animated series. I will also have a checklist review where I have 9 things that I was looking forward to the movie. And if I got them, I get them a yay or nay. Those should be on YouTube within the next couple of days if you want to go visit that. You can keep looking at all our updates at token_nerd for Twitter and Instagram, and tokennerd00 for Facebook. Check us out on you're either listening to this on Podbean or iTunes, or you're actually watching this video track on YouTube. So just stay tuned. We have all those different things going on. Do you got anything you want to plug? Because you are getting ready to record something after this.
Yes. If you are, make sure you check out Real Film Geeks. You can find us on iTunes or on Podbean at Real Film Geeks, REEL, because we are clever.
All right, folks. So as always, I'm Anthony,
and I'm Addison.
Stay spicy, my friends.
Hey everyone, this is Travis Likens from Token Nerd Podcast, and I'm here today to tell you something about sponsorship. That's right, Token Nerd now has a sponsor. The fine folks at TenaciousToys.com, your source for designer toys, pop vinyl, original art, and more, are now our sponsor. And guess what? As a part of that, you can get 10% off your next order at TenaciousToys.com by entering the code TOKEN10 at checkout. That's right, 10% off. And not only are they giving you this code, they're also going to be sponsoring many of our Token Nerd giveaways in the next coming months. So make sure to follow us at token_nerd on Instagram to catch our latest giveaways.